just so we all know. Start the live stream, and then I'll get it pulled up so I can see it, and then I'll tell you when we'll do the other side. Maybe, probably, hopefully.
Facebook should be up, and YouTube should be up.
I should remember the YouTube.
I'm just gonna watch the Facebook side. The YouTube will be what it'll be, probably. I'm just here for the angry comments. That's all. That's really all I care for.
I'm here for the quality of paper that you're using.
Yeah, we're on the streak of him. We're on the streak of him burning cardstock.
Borderline cardstock. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I don't know that that's borderline. I think that is.
It is cardstock. He's been doing that for until he gets more paper.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest.
Like you need some ink.
Well, it's not ink. It's toner.
Toner,
but
yeah.
it's the. I don't know. This printer was great until it wasn't, and I'm not going to go drop $200 on a printer that I print 5 sheets of paper on 3 times a month. So this is what we get, and that's also why I haven't gone out and bought more paper, because I'm like, well, there's cardstock in there. What the hell do I care? Whatever. It's already paid for.
Our show notes are the equivalent of when you're wearing a mismatched outfit because it's laundry day and you're just whatever's clean, and this is what it is.
It's like the fanciest. It's a T-shirt, but it's a suit at the same time. All right, I'm ready when you are. Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 309 of East Central's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrill. Dakota Davis is on assignment, keeping your lights on. Zach Burcham is our producer, and we'll call him our co-host tonight, because why the hell not? We'll give him the promotion. We'll double his pay, and he gets to be the co-host tonight as well. Welcome, Zach.
Good evening.
Thanks for your contribution. The show... this is going to be the blue collar episode, the blacksmithing, the forging, the metal and fire episode of Boss Hog that Dakota Davis has always dreamed about, and yet he's off somewhere shutting somebody's power off. But we're going to have some fun. We've got Greg Kuntz here. We've got a guy named Francis Stroll, but it's not like you think. He's not going for a walk. It's about, it means he's a cheap carpenter, I think. Is that what it is?
Cheap roofer.
Cheap roofer. He's a cheap roofer,
yeah.
Francis Stroll. They're going to be our guests. This show's about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. But hopefully you'll always learn something new. Just did ourselves about 15 or 20 minutes on Patreon. Zach, we learned some things. We learned that you are probably going to be the crew chief of a drag racing car next year.
Yeah. I guess I need to book camping for Labor Day. I'll be at IRP.
You'll be at IRP. You're going to be in the U.S. Nationals.
And jet car. Not just drag car.
Jet car.
Jet car.
I do have a fantasy of adding a roasting hot dog to that story. So at some point, I got to get that worked in if I can get
I mean, the size of the jet, I wouldn't go roasting hot dog. I'd go bratwurst.
Yeah.
I'd go big.
Go to Johnsonville.
Yeah, go big. And then we also learned about we talked about it last week on the Patreon. We had our bearing packing party, or our berry picking party.
Yeah.
Dakota thought we were going berry picking.
It kind of looked like crushed raspberries at one point everywhere.
To put it politely.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to be a part of that, you can join Patreon. Patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty. You can join at any level. But if you do join at $50 or more a month, you help pay the bills. You keep the lights on. You keep the web hosting happening. You also get a shout-out at the beginning of every episode. Zach, who do we shout out at the beginning of each and every episode?
Christy Avery, who's just our favorite Norwex dealer. We got Jonathan Phillips, who is our favorite GMC Buick dealer. And
Andy Moore Buick GMC and Fishers.
And also running for, is it Ward 2? Yeah, Ward 2 Newcastle. And then Anthony Meyer, who is driving back and forth across the country every couple of days, keeping the shelves full. And I don't know if he's doing the memes as much, but probably keeping the memes flowing as well, because he's all about the memes. But keeping the products moving around the country. All
right. And if you want some merch, hit Dakota up. Dakota at BossHogOfLiberty.com. Let him know that email address still works and go buy you some merch. Let's talk to our guests. They've been waiting here politely. They've been noticing the show notes and the heavy cardstock that the patrons were able to buy for us as we just fritter away their money. Welcome, guys. So, Francis, you are wearing a T-shirt that says Coal Iron Works.
Yes, sir.
Which sounds very, very, very dangerous. And Greg, you've got Greg Kuntz Metalworks. So I assume that you're rivals, and we're here to battle something out.
I got my Coal Iron Works shirt dirty on the way here.
That's the most Greg response that could have happened. I planned on it, but I exist, so it doesn't stay clean.
But I had to change somebody's oil on the way over and used it as a shop towel. So here we are.
I sneezed, and that white shirt's black now.
So Greg has been a supporter of this show for a very long time. You were an early listener. I believe you were not living in Newcastle at the time, and you had signed up for Patreon. And Dakota was very excited. He's like, "There's some guy from like Florida that joined. That's a patron. I can't believe it."
I had just moved from Newcastle to New Mexico, and I started listening to your podcast just for local news and stuff. And so I lived in New Mexico for 2 years and moved back.
Well, very good. Yep, we mailed you a card or something, and it came back. I'm like, well, I don't know who the hell this guy is, but he didn't get our note.
Well, he's too close to Roswell. So the government shut it down. They were like, no mail. This guy knows too much.
We did not include it in the show notes, but aliens exist. Congress said last week.
What are they hiding? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is like Hunter Biden did something, so they were like, tell him about the aliens.
Yeah, that's definitely probably what's happening. It's an election year. Nobody knows. Zach, do you have any idea? Do you have any alien opinions yet? We are 4 minutes into the show, and we're on to aliens. This is going great. I didn't study for aliens.
I don't doubt any of it, though. I'm like, I've read a really long story once about a family that owns an old mine over Groom Lake, which is another name for Area 51. And they still, to last I knew, still own the land. But when they want to go there, they have to like run an in-depth background check on anybody that wants to go there, and the government has to like let them go. And every once in a while, if they try to stay the night, they might be doing practice like bombing runs, and some of the munitions might accidentally hit near their house or something like where the house is on the property. So, and the other thing is just statistically, if the universe is as big as we think it is, there's got to be something else out there. The only scary thing is if they get here, then that means they're probably doing better than we are. And
we're horrifically outmatched, so you don't want to piss them off.
Yeah, so I don't doubt it, but yeah, it does seem like just like, yeah, we got aliens. You know, we've got their ships too. It's like, okay, like, so I don't think anybody would be shocked, but at the same time, you kind of wonder, the Congress is a circus, so you never know who they're gonna parade out of as the next attraction. I'm surprised he didn't just like, here, look, we just drag it out and just drug an alien body out the side somewhere. Marjorie Taylor Greene pulls out pictures of a sex tape of the aliens or something. Who knows?
So, Francis, tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I agree with everything you just said. I want to affirm that. Second of all, I am the general manager at Coal Ironworks. Kind of like Greg, I grew up around here. I grew up in Alexandria and ended up moving to Indy, St. Louis area.
Now, for those that are really local, they don't call it Alexandria.
Okay, so here's the thing. I grew up in Ellick, and I call it Ellick. But when I get, what is this? When I get east of Anderson and
we don't know
Ellick,
what the hell you're talking about.
People are like, what's Ellick?
I looked for Ellick on a map. Ellik, not there.
Yeah.
Elleck. I don't know where Ellick is.
Well, so since I've
made-up
spent
place.
so much time outside of Ellick, now
you're the one.
I'm trained to say Alexandria. But if I'm in Anderson or if I'm in Ellick or Elwood, anywhere like that, it's Ellick. But I grew up there, moved around kind of different areas, and then came back last year to help my best friend Nathan run Coal Ironworks, which he founded with Andy Davis, who's from, is it technically Newcastle?
Newcastle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where the city lines are out here, but he passed away in December of 2021, and with the loss of Andy, I came back to help kind of run coal with Nathan.
Very cool. So tell us about what Coal Ironworks does, and then we're going to get into some of the ways that people that are in the audience might be interested in participating.
Yeah. So we make hydraulic forging presses and induction forges, and we sell material. So essentially, we are on the power or modern side of blacksmithing. And what we're doing is to supply makers. So it started out with 2 blacksmiths, a swordsmith, and a tool maker.
So I grew up around horses, so I think blacksmithing, I think farriers, but that's not necessarily what you're talking.
That's not.
Steel.
We have farriers that have our machines, and we support farriers. We love farriers. Any farriers that are out there listening, they know it. We know it. They're a weird breed in the blacksmithing community,
and a lot of bad bags.
And better.
Yeah. They're typically way more honed in their skills because their job comes more down to time than any of ours does. If they can get off, 5 or 6 shoeing 5 or 6 horses in the same time it takes me to do 2, their business is going to do better. So I actually have gone to a farrier competition and watched a guy shoe a horse in 90 seconds. It's just insane.
I hope the horse knew what the hell happened.
Yeah. So, I got a pop there. Anything that has to do with metalwork, we've made press brake, we've made 50-ton machines, we've made H-frames, we've made C-frames. So pretty much anything that we can do to support a maker, whether it's in the metal industry, we have glass blowers that have our stuff, farriers. We want to bring back American made. No matter what that means, no matter what you do, that's the real core of it's in the notes, that's why I said it's the core. But that's the core of what we do is we find ways to support American-made makers and empower them to work for themselves, not have to work for giant corporations. We're lucky enough to be family-owned, to be run by a very intimate group of people that care about each other, that take the time to do things right. And we want to help other people do that in the process.
So you guys sell a little bit of steel, but you don't really do much fabrication yourself. It's the tools for people to do that, to do it on their own.
Correct. So as much as we can, we build the machines from top to bottom. So you're not going to call us to get like a gate installed, or a lot of us do side projects. Like if you wanted to buy hand tools, you might call Nathan. If you wanted to buy a $500, $600 knife, you might call one of our guys. If you wanted to buy a recreation Nordic sword, we've got Dave, who loves to talk about his 5,000-year-old bog oak, which he makes handles out of. I hope Dave listens to this.
You guys sound like TSA's worst nightmare.
So I actually just got back from a show in Atlanta where we're literally getting on the plane with gun cases full of swords and knives.
I was gonna say, it just sounds like
How the hell does this work?
it sounds like everything to get you on
How do you get through? How do you travel at all?
Well, I don't. I'm not a knife maker, so I don't have to worry about it. But they do. They buy gun cases, and they put their knives and their swords in there, and they pack them really neatly, and then they have the same tags like you would a gun, and you have to claim it the same way you would a gun. Then you get to the carousel, and the people who are giving it to you have no idea what's in the package, just like they would a gun. That's the part that always surprises me. They're like, "Oh, what is this? Is this a surfboard?" And you're like, "Yeah, absolutely, that's a surfboard."
I came to Iowa to surf, folks. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we just got back from Atlanta, and that's always the fun part. Is that's I think it's like 30,000, 40,000 people at that convention. And you can just stand in the airport and you can pick them out. I'm going to see that guy this weekend. I'm going to see that guy this weekend. And it's people that you don't necessarily recognize in the industry, but you can just tell by how excited they are, what they're carrying, what shirt they're wearing.
The amount of flannel, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of flannel,
And you can pick out knife collectors in a crowd in
well,
a
yeah,
second.
knife collectors, when you're at these conventions, it's always fun because you have these people who are collectors and these people that are resellers, and they're the ones that pay for early admittance. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm not selling knives at this event. I'm selling our product. So these early admittance people, they don't care about my product. So I can just people watch for like 2 hours. And you have the very clean cut. I'm going to take this. I'm going to sell this to some other company to be able to resell it. And then you have the collectors. And these resellers are just running over these poor collectors, knocking them over. And they'll just walk up to a booth and they'll be like, okay, I like these 4. I want your whole table. Meanwhile, you have one guy that wants one knife.
Yeah.
And it just got
And he
taken
just
out of his
lost
hands.
it all.
He just lost it.
Boy.
This guy's like,
Sounds like a dangerous place for a stabbing.
I don't know how long you would last if you tried to commit violence at this place, because it's 30,000, 40,000 people sounds like a lot, but it is a very small, tight-knit community. Anybody over 50 is your grandpa. Anybody 25 to 50 is your brother. Anybody younger than 25 is your little brother. Anybody under 5'9" is your little brother, honestly. So it's a really small community. So there's a lot of danger involved in the show, maybe, but you wouldn't get too far. Also, a lot of ex-Marines and SEALs and stuff like that you might not even make it to the victim before.
So, Greg, you're a veteran and a knife maker. This is starting to make sense as to how you fit into this deal.
It makes sense. Although I look much different than most of the knife makers and knife collectors, but yes.
Well, you look like the veterans, though.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
but like we just had the Renaissance Fair here last week in Newcastle, and I had my booth set up, and it's very obvious who's going to come look at your booth and care.
They're dressed a certain way.
Not necessarily that whatsoever.
You can tell by the
At
way
the Renaissance
they
Festival?
carry themselves.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I actually just had a local maker on our podcast, and he made a joke off camera, but essentially he was like, "Oh, people that wear Cookie Monster sweatpants, they're never gonna buy a knife." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not joking you. Like 2 weeks ago, me and Greg were at the farmers market, and this guy came up, and it was the quintessential. If you were to close your eyes and be like, the guy that will never buy a knife, bought 2 knives." Was super stoked about it. So it's genuinely the way people carry themselves when they walk to your booth. That's how you know if they're actually there for, oh, this is super cool, I have $10, or if they're actually committed to the craft and they're willing to talk to you and learn about it. And even if they buy nothing, you're going to have a genuinely good interaction.
There you go. Well, and there's probably some barrier to entry or some thought of, I don't know what the hell I'm getting into. It sounds like in the industry, in the maker's industry, you genuinely do care about what the product is and making sure that people understand and have an appreciation of it.
Yeah, but it starts with not understanding and that spark of intrigue saying, well, how does that work? We were all 5 years old and took apart the remote control and maybe it was even just taking the batteries out and putting it back in, and then your mind goes, wait, how does it work when these are out or in, but not when they're out? And that's what we want to address, and that's kind of the people that walk up and they're like, oh, so you do this all by hand? It's like, yeah, absolutely. Or, there's power tools involved, but that's what we want to drum up, is we want to drum up that curiosity, because curiosity is what's going to drive a better product in the end.
So some of the folks that are involved with Coal Iron Works, there's some pretty neat products and things that might be memorable for folks.
Yeah.
That have come through there. Do you want to share some stories?
So the first one I'll share is even before Coal Iron Works started, I want to kind of share about Andy. We have his hammer in coming up, we'll talk about later, but Andy and David grew up literally just going and collecting ore from the soil and trying to make their own steel. So they were that involved where they were like, we want to make our own steel, and they're both huge nerds, and I love them with my whole heart, and I'll tell them to their face. But Andy was a huge nerd, David still is, but they got the chance at like 18, 19 years old to make a sword that was featured in Thor. So
say that one more time so that I understand what you just said.
It was a sword that was featured in the cinematic Marvel universe. Is that what it's called? Or Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Sure.
For Thor, it's the Sword of Asgard. Idris Elba holds it. And a fun story about that is I went while they were making it, and they were like, oh, we're going to make this thing that we can't tell you about, but you can help. Yes!
Great.
About 15
That's how I draft my volunteer labor as well.
About 15 pommels, what I thought were pommels later. I realized that they just had me on a grinder so that I felt involved, and nothing I did ever ended up on the sword. So that started that. I believe they were doing Mad Dwarf at the time. Yes. After Mad Dwarf switched off, my best friend Nathan had just moved to Indiana from Ohio, and I was like, you have to meet my friend Andy. And he was like, yeah, I'm starting a business with him. Like,
I added Nathan. He's an exclusive guy. I added him on Facebook like 8 years ago. Still waiting for him to accept.
Yeah, he won't.
Yeah,
he won't.
It's not happening.
Yeah, not gonna happen. But they started their business. It originally started off essentially as a hot shop. What can we do that other people don't want to do? There's the infamous ring story where they made rings that go around the fire detection system at Nestle. They kept pulling up their pallets and knocking into those sprinklers and setting them off and ruining hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise every time. So they made these, I don't know what, 12-inch rings.
I thought they were more like 6 inch.
Maybe 6.
So in Anderson, where you're at, for those that are listening across the country, Nestle has a massive manufacturing facility.
Massive.
Right on
Is it
I-69.
manufacturing or is it storage? It doesn't matter whether it's
I
both.
believe it's both.
For our purposes, they make chocolate milk. That's
Yeah.
all we need to know.
Yeah. So,
You save the lives of millions of gallons of chocolate milk.
yeah. So they made these rings. They go to deliver them, and they said, we can't install these because they have rust on them. First of all, they were a nightmare to make. And then they were like, well, they have rust on them. Well, okay, cool. We'll take them back. So we hand grind
Polish
all of
them.
put the WD-40 on them.
Y'all don't have a
then
wheelabrator?
We had. Listen, it was.
How many thousands of rings?
I think it was like 2,000 rings.
See, I was thinking it was more than that.
2500.
It was.
Did somebody to like back up a dump truck up and just dump them outside and be like, somebody's got to clean these up and just be like,
Well,
Just start. I don't know how you make 2,000 of something. You show up as a small business and you just want to throw them at them. the rage, the pure rage that it would elicit.
well, like 2 or 3 months later, after doing all this work and getting them and getting them installed and taking all the rust off, which was literally, if you knew Nate or Andy at the time, it was, hey man, you want to hang out? Cool, come to the garage. We're doing rings, and it was like that for like 3 months. But we found out about this product called a vapor rust, which you just put stuff in and it eats the rust off, and then you take it out and you put it in this other stuff and it coats it and it seals it.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Takes away 3 months of manual labor. But we didn't know about it at the time. So we've done everything from that up to the very first forging press that we made was made out of an old log splitter. Andy made it, and they were like, okay, we have this cool idea that we can start making these. Every blacksmith has the dream of being able to do it in their garage. Every blacksmith's wife wants to live in town. So they were like, maybe we can do both, right? And we didn't invent the forging press by any means. We just are trying to make it more accessible because we make it on 110. You can run it in your garage, 220. If you've got a dryer in your garage or anything like that, it's a 30 amp circuit. So we make the forging press, and about 10 presses in, Andy's like, I think we're done. That's the market.
Scratched my itch. I'm good.
There's 10 blacksmiths in America. That's it. That's all we will ever sell. And Nathan was like, no, let's do this. So, fast forward 7 years, and I think we're up to order 7,000 now. We're closing in on 7,000 on our shop orders. So I think Andy underestimated that just a little bit. But we have presses in some really cool guy shops. Steve Schwarzer, he's a world-renowned everything. Boat racer,
Martial artist,
power lifter. He has the world record for powerlifting. Is it
Senior-
clean and jerk seniors category, something like that?
So.
He has
Dakota
lived
is
everywhere.
listening to this crying right now, Zach, just so you know.
you should.
Everything I've heard about Dakota, it sounds like him and Steve would.
Yeah.
You
would
actually
get along.
met him at the demo that we did. He was
Okay.
with his son.
There was a lot of
Yeah, there
fathers and
was.
sons at the event, so.
But he was the one giggling like a schoolgirl.
Okay. We've got presses in. I don't know if you've heard of Neil Kamamara. He's been in GQ interviews recently. He's the guy on the YouTube videos that's like a bladesmith reviews blacksmithing in a movie and stuff like that. And he's a really awesome guy. He reached out after the first season of Forge and Fire. I think he was first season. Reached out and he was like, "Hey, I won. I want to buy a press." 5 years later, he just bought a double-sided press, custom paint job from us.
With the digital press controller.
With the DPC that we launched. He got the final version before we launched it.
What is a digital press controller?
So digital
And why
press,
do I need one?
I don't know. It just kind of sounds like you need one, right? That's so digital press controller takes your press from being manual function on the valve to being digitally. So essentially a CNC machine for your hydraulic press. Gives you very, very accurate capabilities as far as up and down go. You don't over squish stuff if you're doing things within very tight tolerances. I think it holds like a 10 thou tolerance.
and faster.
Well, perceived speed because you're
Yeah.
not wasting your time going up. But yeah, absolutely. So if you have your set limit lower for your high end, you're not spending your entire time retracting up. So
Might somebody be making a blacksmith? So they we're making knives. What are the kind of the customer base and the things that your Shade Tree Blacksmith is making?
If it's hot and it's metal, you need a press. That's essentially what it boils down to. In today's day and age, doing things by hand, you won't be able to keep up. Your prices will be so astronomical that nobody will be able to afford them. So we've got hammer makers, we've got hand tool makers, we've got artists, we've got knife makers, sword makers. We make
makers.
axe makers. We've got my favorite tool that gets made on our press. This is going to sound really nerdy. It's called a hori hori. It's a Japanese gardening tool. It is a serrated blade on one side, a sharp edge on the other, and a
Is that the ones Benton
trowel.
makes?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and a hand trowel. So they're
And
super
Dakota
cool.
misses out on gardening talk too. Son of a bitch. He is crying.
Weightlifting, blacksmithing, and gardening.
I know.
This is like if
This
you
is
guys
the
have,
trifecta.
if you guys have anything that can help take care of a chicken,
You have anything for
You know-
chickens or for running marathons?
I can do chickens. I can't do marathons. We can talk about chickens all day.
Now, before we get too far, that first press that Andy made. Was that the one made out of Rob's log splitter that they had at the Mad Dwarf workshop?
I don't think it was Rob's, but that was the one at the Mad Dwarf.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was.
Rob's.
I think it was Vic's.
No, this was back when 14, 15, when they first started doing Damascus. They had a log splitter made into a press, but it was Rob's.
The gas one.
Yes.
The gas one David still has. That one was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Separate. Okay.
Yeah, that one's separate. I could be completely wrong on that, but I think David still has the gas one.
Okay.
And the first Coal Ironworks one they took from Vic's shop, who also just passed away.
So this is a very young industry, right? Everybody that's operating, everybody that's involved is essentially millennials.
So
age,
our
right?
our company's very young,
Yeah.
but not at all.
Well,
It's
you've created a product that essentially didn't exist.
not at the scale that we've put it out to. There
Right.
are a few people that made them. There's Uncle Al's, there's Big Blue, there's names out there, but what we really did that I believe is kind of different is we made it accessible, and we went to shows and we supported our community, and people already knew Andy and they knew Nathan, and we were genuine. It wasn't some big company that came out and said, there's Yang, right? They make forging presses for NASA. We're talking 500-ton forging presses that would take up a building. They also make
Your 12-ton, I think, was the big
game
game changer.
There's companies like Yang that come in, and it's just obvious that it's like they're just trying to make a buck off somebody, where our company kind of grew up from, we made this for ourselves, do you like it?
It's genuine.
It's the genuine, and when you call us, it's not some call center. You get me, right? It doesn't matter if you're calling to sell me LTL logistics, which I get 7 of a day, so please don't do that.
Yellow won't call anymore. Don't worry about them.
Everybody's calling because Yellow won't call anymore. That's the problem now. If you have a service, if you want sales, it doesn't matter what you're calling for. You're going to get me. And I think that's another thing too, is it's not like, I hope these guys answer, or I hope this email gets read. I mean, we still run our emails off Gmail. Like we have a @Coal Ironworks, but it's all through Gmail. So we're still a very small company. It's still very genuine. We go to every single show that we possibly can. We support everybody in any way that we possibly can. And I think that's really the difference. Going back to your original point, though, of it being a young industry, this is an incredibly old industry that we've hopefully found a way to inspire people and rejuvenate, even if it's in a hobbyist mode. Greg may never end up being a full-time knife maker, but I'm super stoked that he came to our Hammer Inn and was like, "Oh, I can do that. That's sick. Let's." And now I'm going out to shows with Greg as well. So there are a lot of guys my age. I'm 34, 33. I'm 33. There's a lot of guys my age. There's a lot of guys that are 17, 18 years old that blow me away, that are amazing artists. But we also look up to a lot of guys like Steve. Steve's probably 70-ish.
8, I believe.
70. He just had a birthday. Vic, who was fundamental in starting Coal Ironworks, he just passed away last weekend, actually. If it weren't for his garage, we would have never had the workspace for Andy and Nathan to start it. So it's generational, and we're just trying to support the generation both above and below us. Instead of teaching everything going down, we're figuring out where we can go both ways.
That's a different show. All right. So tell us about CoalSchool. So you've explained the product and what you guys do, but then you have, and this is where Greg came in, you have opportunities for people to come in and to learn how the machines work and how to actually be a maker.
Yeah, so we have CoalSchool of Iron, CoalSchoolofIron.com, I believe. Check that out.
It is.
So we have everything from how to swing a hammer, what stance to take to make sure you still have a shoulder at 30 years old, to all the way up to Charlie Ellis, who's coming, who's teaching one specific style of knife, and it's just the tang of the knife. He's really not going to get in depth about the blade itself. He's teaching about the tang and how to make an integral, and then
of course I know what a tang is, but if you'll explain that to the rest of the audience.
So the tang is the part of the knife that comes off of the blade.
Yeah.
So an integral has a choil or bolster or
Your typical chef's knife that you would get at a store. The metal part in front of the handle is the same width as the handle, and that's an integral bolster.
yes. So integral means it's all made.
It's
of
all
one
together.
piece. Yes. and you're, like I said, bolster. But the classes start from anywhere from how to swing a hammer. You make a punch, a chisel to make your hammer. That's a 3-day class.
David's class,
which is just about the fit and finish of the handle. Charlie's class, which is about pretty much just the tang and how to get a good integral. We have Rasmus coming from Scandinavia. I can't remember the country. Norway. Coming from Norway to teach just the grinding aspect. It's a very rough forging and then a lot of finishing work on the grinding. So we also are working with Anderson Community Schools to be able to figure out how to get some of the guys over CNC, welding, just anything with your hands and anything that we can do. We're going to try to incorporate into those classes. But that is 100% our way of giving back to the community and trying to create jobs, trying to create the ability for somebody to come in, catch an interest, and say,
this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do, right? Get inspired.
Don't go spend $80,000 on student loan debt. Go buy $80,000 worth of tools and invest in yourself.
So fun story about that. I don't think I'll ever be allowed to Lapel's career day ever again.
Oh, no.
Our safety guy, his son, has one of our presses, and his son is 12 or 13.
Yeah.
He's awesome kid, and you guys should come to career day and all this stuff. And I said, oh, that's weird. I'm not going to hire an intern from high school, right? So I go out, and all these kids are coming up. What age do you hire at? What do I have to do to get a job there? And it's like, I eventually just kind of got not fed up with it, but I wasn't there to hire kids. I was there to tell them that you can go do stuff.
To create exposure.
Yeah, so I just started telling kids, like, hey, man, I'm not here to give you a job. I'm here to teach you how to get your own job and work for yourself. And a teacher came up, and she was talking to me, and she kind of walked away. And I thought she walked away much farther than she did. And the next kid that came up started asking me the same question. What do I have to do to get hired? All this stuff. I said, listen, kid, man, I want you to drop out and work for yourself. That's my goal.
You should quit now.
Yeah. So I have a shirt from a maker named Silas. It says, drop out of school and make knives. And that's what I want. I want kids to be independent. I want them to be self-sufficient. I spend a lot of time in
the school administrators may have come walking down immediately saying, every one of those kids is a $10,000 coupon, sir.
Yeah. So I don't think I'll ever be allowed back there again. But that's
four kids drop out. We have to fire a teacher, Francis.
Especially at Lapel.
Yeah. That's half their graduating class, isn't it? I don't know. I went to Ellick, so it's not much better. I think we graduate like 40 kids my senior year.
I'm just impressed you have all your teeth from Madison County. It's really it's a testament.
So yeah, that's the point of the school, is to get people inspired. It doesn't matter. We do 12 years old all the way up to 180. We don't care. As long as you're coming out to get inspired and have a good time. We've had a couple guys show up to classes that I genuinely, when they walked through the door, I was like, you could teach this class. Like, why are you here? And they're there for a good time, or they're there to get maybe an outside perspective. Yep. Benton, who just taught a class, is like 32 or 33, and all of his students were older than him, first of all. And second, one of them is probably one of the best hammer makers in Indiana. And when he walked through the doors, I was like, Chuck, why are you even here? Like, you should be teaching. And it's just that kind of community to just get involved and get your hands on stuff. I hate theoretical, right? Like, I hate watching YouTube videos and saying, oh, I could build a forge and I could do this. Or you could just go do it. And we give people the ability to do it.
I was that way for years, being exposed to Andy and David making knives and swords. And it's like, that looks really... I didn't care about the mythopoetic part, but what they were doing was cool. Just watching them take steel and mold it and make it what they wanted it to be, that was always what was cool, and it always was so daunting.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, I'm going to make my own forge one day. I'll do it one day. Well, finally, after the hammer in, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it, and I finally did.
So you have the Makers Market coming up as well.
Yeah,
this is the big event that Greg said. This is timely. We need to promote this now so people understand what's coming up.
Yeah.
You're hosting a big event at Coal Ironworks.
Yes.
Is it Labor Day weekend?
It is. I'm so bad with dates and when stuff. It's September 2nd, and I believe that is Labor Day weekend. Yeah. This is the first job I've ever had that I get Labor Day off, so that's why I don't know when Labor Day. In fact, I'm used to being like, Labor Day's coming. I'm going to be super busy. But it is September 2nd, and the cool thing about that is it's not just going to be metalwork or blue collar, as you put it. We're having there's a couple tattoo artists that are coming out selling flash. There's going to be a whole farmers market. I think there's a band. I think we've got the band locked in. We've got furniture makers. We've got anybody and everybody that wants to apply. I believe we still have some spots open. You can apply on our website at coalironworks.com. There's a little tab for it. But that is our way to genuinely just give back to the community. It's completely free, both for the vendors and for the people coming.
Essentially, a maker's farmer's market.
Yeah, so it's not just local honey and flowers and the stuff that you everyone has a farmer's market, right? We want to do it right, and we want to do it big, and we're incredibly blessed to have the facility that we do. It's way bigger than we need. We have way more parking. We have our parking lots that we have are bigger than what the Anderson Farmers Market is currently held in. That's kind of what inspired it. Is like, do you guys want a bigger section? Like, let's make this big, right? Let's do this. So we wanted to be able to set something up to allow people to put themselves in front of an audience.
So any idea how many vendors you're expecting as of now? Obviously, you're still a month away, but
I have
gut feel.
no idea.
We're going to say there's going to be 500 vendors.
Somewhere around 1,000.
Sure.
100.
Yeah.
The vendors will be 15 vendors.
15 vendors that we're arranging, but I
Yes.
don't know how many farmers market vendors are coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we have 3 parking lots, and we have events planned in each one of them, and the school will be open for quick 30 to 45 minute learn how to make a knife, learn how to just real quick forging experiences.
I believe there's a bottle opener.
Bottle opener, knife, and punch and chisel set or something like that. I think just stuff to get you exposed to. Yeah, it sounds crazy, right? Like just walk into a place and you can make your own tools, or you can forge, or whatever. But once again, we want to make it accessible, and it's not that crazy to just walk into our facility, get a 5-minute safety rundown, and then walk away with a railroad spike knife.
I will tell you that Zach and I have been happy owners of fire pokers we purchased at the Fort Valonia days from this old, probably 90-year-old forging guy who guaranteed them for as long as he lived that they would
That
last.
wasn't very long at the time, though.
Well, especially during COVID, because
Yeah.
it could have been hours. We didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know. But it's spectacular. It's a great thing, and that's why I mentioned it to Greg a couple weeks ago. I'm like, somebody needs to make these. This guy's not gonna be around forever.
Yeah.
Those are the camping world. Everybody loves
Fire pokers are fun because they're pretty simple.
Yeah, but you can do a little bit of detail. You put a little spin in it.
Yeah.
It can get as artistic as you want.
The
but
world
it's
is your
incredibly
oyster.
incredibly utilitarian.
Yeah.
And it could be as long or short as you want. You order the thing from the guy, and he's like, "How long do you want it?" I'm like, "Hell, I don't know. Whatever's normal. Long enough, I'm not going to get burned."
Yeah.
And see, I make steak flippers and then Dutch oven lid lifters. I don't have a set length I make them. It's like
It's whatever
this
it is
one's this
today.
long.
They're entirely custom.
Well, it was that long because that's where the pole stopped being hot.
Yeah,
That's where
exactly.
when it was in my forge.
That's
so I
how
figured
long
that
my
out.
arm is.
Yeah, that's kind of how my stuff ends up too. Like I just made my girlfriend some shepherd's hooks, and I was like, how tall do you want them? And she was like, I don't know, like a normal height, like you said. So I'm 6'4", so they're incredibly tall shepherd's hooks because the bird feeder's at eye level.
Yeah,
Makes sense to me.
they're normal human height. I don't know what your problem is. Lady.
Yeah, she's 5'4" and has to crane her neck to see the birds.
She needs a step stool to be able to garden with her with her shepherd's hooks.
But with the school being open, I think that's the coolest part about this makers market is because their classes are 3 days long typically. It is your shortest class. I think Nathan's going to do 1 half-day class.
Yeah, he's got a half-day class coming up.
But because I get young kids all the time when I'm set up here locally at the farmer's market, I get at least 4 every single week. Hey, will you teach me? It's like, I'm still very much learning myself. Go see my friends at Coal Iron, and they do classes and stuff. But with their school being open and it being quick, simple projects.
It's a great way to get exposure and then to get the bug.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not hey, I'm going to take a 3-day class that's going to cost me, There's some zeros in some of the higher end classes.
In some of the higher end
Yes.
classes, there are zeros for sure. But those are soon they'll be available online for less because you obviously don't get to ask questions in person or maybe see some of the finer detail. We wanted to come out with a bang, and so we got world-renowned
Top
names,
tier.
top-tier people, so that we could get some online content and start spreading. Next year, there's going to be a lot more introductory classes. There's still going to be the top-tier stuff, which is also kind of what we're known for, is not shying away from quality. If it means that it's going to cost an extra $150, we're going to do it if it's going to last 5 more years or whatever the case is. There's not a lot of quality left, and so when we opened, not a lot of quality left in just machinery, and everything's just a dime a dozen now. So when we opened the school, we went in with that same mindset of we want the top quality teachers here. And you're right, there's some zeros that takes money, but the guys coming to these classes are typically doing this full time, and it's part of their job to stay.
You have somebody coming
educated.
from Norway to come
Right.
teach a class.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Indiana's kind of like the Norway of America, right? He won't be too
honestly.
out of there.
Honestly, it sounds like you guys have made Central Indiana a destination for this, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not, I'm sure there are people that go, yeah, this is a really big deal. It's a big thing on the schedule, and Anderson is the place to come to, it's the destination to come.
Yeah,
Well-
it's incredibly humbling to go to these events in Atlanta, and I just got back from northern, I think it was northern Michigan, and the amount of people that come up and they're like, "Hey, Francis," and I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, I just watched the podcast, or I just see you on Instagram," and it's incredibly humbling because, like I said, I grew up around here. I was here when GM left for the last time,
Yep.
and to think that people are proud to come to Anderson. We don't hear the people that come in and they're like, "Man, this place is a dump." They come in, they're like, "I can't believe I'm here." It's a really cool feeling to be a small part of that.
Well, and especially like the Hammer-In. I'd never been to a Hammer-In really before the one last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the people like Steve Schwarzer was there. Will Stelter, who's a YouTube guy. He's
He's one of those
22?
young guys that blows me away. Yeah.
His work is incredible.
He sold a marshmallow roaster for probably 5 digits. I'm not going to give an exact number, but it was 5 digits, I think.
And
The cost per marshmallow, Zach, is
For-
you've got to make a shit ton of marshmallows to start making that pay off.
You got 2 hits in on an RV dust cap, and we're like, I'm over this. Murder it. And these guys are like spending how much time making a s'more stick.
That
like-
probably took him like 6 months. It has a mammoth bone on it. So.
And he won.
Of course it does.
He won Best of the Rest at a knife show.
Yeah.
So at a knife show, he won an award with his marshmallow poker.
Yeah.
That sounds spectacular.
Yeah.
So
But the people that the people that come to the Hammer-In is just incredible. And then Lucas O'Hara of Grizzly Forge.
Yeah.
And just
Bob Rankin comes down
Yeah.
from Michigan. He's a huge Damascus guy.
So this is the Andy Davis Hammer-In that's going to be in December.
Yes,
Of
December
this year.
1st and 2nd, I believe, or 2nd and 3rd. I can't remember which one it is. Once again, I'm bad with dates. I just show up when they tell me to.
It's the first Friday and first Saturday of December.
Yes.
All right. And you are expecting people from all over the country
Yes.
to come to Anderson, Indiana, which has now been reclaimed as the forging capital of North America.
Well, the Norway of America is, I believe, how I put it.
the Norway, the Nordic lands of East Central Indiana. Honestly, though, Greg, our families are all automotive and the UAW companies that have left. Right, my dad was a GM employee.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of therapeutic to hear that. Hey, this is how we've found a way to replace an industry that's left.
Yeah.
That now we're a destination that does other things.
Now, we've got 10 employees, not 50,000.
Sure.
So keep that in mind. Still very small. But
now.
yeah, I don't know, man. They're going to have to hire somebody else to run it if they got 50,000. But like you said, it is really cool. We have guys that come in and they're like, "Oh, I used to run this line, or I used to weld this for this," and they have a lot of pride in what they did, and they get to experience that again with us, which is super cool.
At the local markets, I have a ton of old Chrysler employees come up and they want to talk about the power hammers they ran and the forgings that they did at Chrysler, and it's really cool to see them see my work and go, "Man, I really liked what I did." And
Yep.
that's cool that you guys, young guys that never did that job, are back in it again.
I didn't get the chance. Yeah. It was
Well,
gone.
there's a whole generation of folks that have had to reinvent themselves and entirely, on the fly. You had a, generation, 2-3 generations of folks that came up from Kentucky and they worked in the auto plants here, and then they all disappear. And the guys that are 50, 60 years old, 70 years old now, they had that job, they thought they'd have it for life, and all of a sudden it went away, and they had to reinvent. And they might have become a realtor, they might have become an auto mechanic. They've they went into law enforcement
moved
or
to
fire,
Lafayette
whatever.
and worked for Subaru.
Kokomo.
Yeah, or that's we were joking before the show about how small Indiana is. My cousin is a sales rep for you guys. She's from Arizona. I'm from New York, right? The reason I came here is because our GM plant in New York State closed. GM abducted me, and I landed here when I was 10 years old, and that lasted for 6 or 7 years until this plant went away too.
Yep.
In Muncie, and then ultimately Dad wound up at Allison and Speedway. But that's the way that industry worked. You either moved with it as it was changing and going away, or you had to find a new way. So,
I think I was a freshman in high school when that all went away, and it was within 3 or 4 weeks of them announcing Delphi was closing. I probably had half my class. I was at Highland by that time, and I probably went from 500 kids in my freshman grade to I think we graduated like 200, 250. It was like overnight.
Just disappeared.
Insane. Yeah.
At Blue River,
like
we went from 85 to 60
Yeah.
overnight.
It's like a rapture.
Yeah.
The Indiana rapture happened.
They all moved to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, essentially that's what happened. But they went to Marion, they went to Fort Wayne. They had to go somewhere else.
Yep.
All right. So what else do people know if they want to participate in the Hammer-In? That's free. There's a cost. There's a registration.
So the Maker's Market's free. Absolutely free to come. I think there's like a $10 charge to do blacksmithing experience, and that covers the cost of the railroad spike, the propane, stuff like that.
Now parking is $72.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in Middletown because it's at my house, and you have to find a way to
There will be a
shop.
shuttle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there will be a shuttle. The Hammer-In is $40 for the day of demonstrations, or $40 for the day of open forging, or $60 for both days. And the demonstrations we have, honestly, I was shocked at a couple of the guys we were able to get. One of them, Derek Melton, is coming up from either Alabama or Louisiana. He's really big in just making whatever. He doesn't have a specialty, but he's very well versed in induction forges, which we just launched our own induction forge. So he wanted to come up, and he's really pumped on us because we're the only American support of an induction forge. Literally everything else is Chinese. We are getting them OEM'd for us in China, but at least when you have a problem, you're going to call and get American support. You're not going to be on a hold line for 35 hours. We've got Ben Snur coming up from Texas. Hopefully he's going to work on a 120, which is a big press. We've got Andrew Larson coming up from Kentucky, who's one of they call themselves the Chain Gang. They're all 18 or 19 years old, just amazing blacksmiths. Who else is coming up? I mean, Steve will be there, but he's not demonstrating. But
I'm really excited about Josh and David,
who both do like what they call mythopoetic. They make elf swords. That's the best way to put it. They make elf swords. But
I mean, do you think everything's an elf sword because you're so damn tall?
Well, I mean, in Lord of the Rings, elves are tall, and they're Lord of the Ring elves. They're not. Not like But yeah, the Hammer-In's going to be really cool. No matter what day you come, there's going to be really, really good demonstrations. The day of the open forging, the IBA will be there, Indiana Blacksmithing Association. So even if you don't know what you're doing, you come out. There are going to be guys at every single station to be able to work with you, talk to you, work you through a small project. And we're also going to start hosting IBA meetings on the fourth Saturday of every month. So we have a whole lot going on. The best thing I can tell you guys is just keep checking our website because something else will pop up in the midst of all this.
You guys are spending an incredible amount of time, energy, and effort into the extra side. This isn't the main production.
This
side
isn't.
of the
Yeah,
business.
this isn't.
This is all the
side.
service
This
side.
isn't how we make money. This is how we give back to the community, and this is how we care. And that's the focal point of our business. Andy, before he started Coal with Nathan, taught classes, so that was a big inspiration to the school. That's why we call it the Andy Davis Hammer-In. We have it around the time that he passed away to honor his memory. And we just want to continue on a legacy of caring about the people around you, because at the end of the day, who's left? And we want to be the people that are left.
Yep. Now, I did hear you say you're from Middletown, Indiana.
I moved to Middletown after moving from Chicago, moved back from Chicago last summer, and decided that I did not want to live on the north side of Anderson because it's too close to my parents. So I went to
From
Middletown.
one rough neighborhood to another. Though.
So did you see?
Middletown's the Chicago
Of Anderson.
Well, I was in Arlington Heights, so I was in like kind of the Carmel.
So Middletown's new police chief is Landon Dean, Boss Hog alum, and this week Landon got into a.
I saw that.
He took down Google.
He took.
Took down Google.
He clocked a Google Street View car doing over 100 miles an hour on Raider Road, and chases the thing, and it goes down US 36. The same construction. This is a little color here. The same construction company. This is like they are cursed. The same construction company that had the US 36 bridge in Newcastle, that the Buick drove
Or
off the
38,
road
yeah.
and or on 38
38,
and,
yeah.
and landed in the Big Blue River.
Yeah.
Same exact crew, same exact company had the
man.
bridge out on 36 in Pendleton that the Google car yeeted off of and landed in the river doing 120 miles an hour because the driver was afraid
To stop.
to stop for Landon.
So the only information I've gotten about this is from a coworker who also lives in Middletown, who got it from Facebook, which Middletown has the most active small town Facebook community group that I've ever. Chris is always coming in like, this happened two doors down from you, and it's like a cat peed outside. Like what? But he
Stop the
came in.
presses.
Yeah, he was like, did you see this? And I'm expecting the same thing. People complaining about stray cats. It's a huge problem, an actual huge problem in
So
Middletown.
they sent out a press release. We got it. We saw it.
Okay.
And I shared it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be huge because I'm like, first of all, 100-mile-an-hour police chase on the Google car. I'm like, this should all be on tape.
Didn't he just not stop because he was afraid of getting a ticket, and a ticket means you lose your job? Because that's what I was told.
I don't know I
don't
don't know.
know.
He's in the county jail. We could go check.
What's parking your Google car in a river get you?
Probably a
I see.
lot more than losing your job.
was
I'm
gonna
gonna
The car
say.
has
Yeah.
the car had a California plate. I had just seen it. I was like, "Oh, cool, the Google car." Like 2 weeks ago, I'm in Muncie in
Yep.
the same
Well, that's
Google
news.
car.
That's news anyway. When the Google
Right,
cars
it
around.
My
comes-
house just got updated on Google.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, they were around.
Our house got done in June, and I was away on at vacation. I'm like, the entire driveway is empty. It was a miracle. There was no camper. There was no truck. Nothing was there. We had one car in the driveway in June when they did it. I'm like, I could show off all my new concrete work. So the guy's been running around the area for months updating stuff. I saw him in Muncie. It is a Honda SUV, very current looking, baby blue, with like this
Like a mountain scene wrap.
mountain
thing on it,
scene wrap and the giant camera on top, the 360 camera, and it was the same car. And I was like, my only complaint is that when they sent the press release out, they took a really shitty photo because this thing has been shared. I think the Today Show has picked it up. It was on. It was on like Puberty or something
Yeah,
on
on
Instagram. You
Instagram.
sent it to me today.
Yeah.
It has gone worldwide, coast to coast from Middletown. It ticks all the boxes. It's the greatest story ever.
And it started 2 blocks from me, and I was completely unaware.
I want to see the street view from a car
During
During the
chase.
high
during
speed
120
chase.
miles
Yeah.
an hour. It's just like you look on Raider Road, it's just blurry.
Yeah.
Like it's just a blur. Everything.
And Google's like, oh, we don't need to send a car back down that road for a while. We just did it. We're good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love the logic of I can't get pulled over. I'm going to run from the cops.
Yeah.
In a car
That
that's
is-
got a camera mast basically sticking off the roof.
It's not like it's a
That
gray Honda
covered in-
Accord that's going to hide somewhere.
Directly reports to a satellite, right?
yeah, I imagine that
Covered in Google.
Google stuff. Yeah, it's recording his crime in 360-degree panoramic, probably in 4K or something crazy like that. And it's beaming me back to the mothership. I'm surprised there's probably a guy who was like, why is one of our cars doing 120 miles an hour?
Yeah.
And then pull up the camera like, why is there a police officer by? I mean, that would be awesome if somebody was like, one of his bosses or some overlord was watching the chase and could like look and see where he was going and what he was driving by, because it's just got cameras all over it. But like the logic of I don't want to get pulled over, I'm instead going to run from the cops.
Well, when Landon saw him, he was already going 100.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what was he?
Oh, I was told that he was parked on Raider Road for like an hour, and that whoever pulled him over, or whatever tried to pull him over, tried to approach the car, and as soon as he tried to approach the car to figure out, hey man, why is this Google car parked on a road for an hour or two, he just took off.
I think the report I read said he was observed doing over 100 miles an hour
That's
when
what
the
I
chase
read it
started.
in
But
the paper.
but you never know. I haven't seen the Middletown news to see what the official.
I'm looking forward to
going
the
to
trial.
tell you right now.
I
it's-
know.
What I was
Could you
told was
imagine
probably
being on
wrong
the
because it's
jury?
Facebook.
Yeah, but just So Landon. Yeah, he's not the sheriff of Henry County, but he's doing good work out there in Middletown. And he's
Busting Google.
yeah. It's like the best
The
part
heart.
is that like
Obviously,
Middletown,
he has an iPhone.
yeah. Well, the best part's Middletown made the news not for anything that happened by a citizen of Middletown. Like it's just Middletown. Like, oh look, our cop arrested this guy, and you can just blame it. Or like all the people here would be like, oh, it's those California libs just speeding around here trying to kill people or something. But it's like you just blame it on some other guy. But the trial will be funny. I just want to.
It'd be even better if there was nobody in the car.
It feels like a
I
self-automated
seriously,
car.
I had that thought is the whether or not the car
was driving
because I think
itself.
I read the story.
Reading in the paper,
it did not
almost sound like that
because the story did not mention a driver
until the very end.
very end, and so I had a thought was this is like a self-driving car that's just was going haywire.
M. Night Shyamalan movie.
And because it's like it's passing people and all this other stuff, and I was like, and so in my brain, the initial read through, I'm like, is this an autonomous car? And then
I
all of a
read
sudden
it
it's
the
like, oh, and
exact
then
same
the
way.
driver got, I'm like, oh, there's a driver in.
Yeah,
I'm
all my
like,
updates have been through Chris,
yeah, so,
which is
I
his or
read
through
it in the
Facebook.
paper, so
Yeah.
yeah, so
The official story that's on Fox59.com. Once again, this story went everywhere. It says as the vehicle passed the officer noted the 360-degree camera on top of the car. So it was the officer gave chase, Landon gave chase, and ended up catching Ferguson at the 8500 block of US 36, driving at speeds well over 100 miles an hour, while he passed several other vehicles and refused to pull over for the police.
I mean, the minute he had a cop behind him, he was done.
Yeah.
Because it's a super identifiable car. At some point, somebody could just be like, can we contact Google? And they'll tell you where the car is. Because it's
Yeah.
guarantee it's got GPS on it. And
Well,
other
so
than
does
that,
he
it's
if
just,
he works for Google.
it's just, yeah, he probably does.
Probably
And
has a
other than
chip.
that, it's just like, where are you going to hide? And how long are you going to run? Eventually, state police are going to jump in on. Or just going somebody at some point they're going to throw a helicopter at you, and they're going to track you down. I just don't understand.
Full Grand Theft Auto.
I mean, I'll be honest.
Five
stars.
stars.
Here's,
Five
here's
stars,
the same.
yeah.
Here's the same level of because I just saw a story too about like police went up and knocked on some guy's door, and the guy ran and jumped off a bridge, like running from the cops. And the cops weren't at the house for him; they were at the house for somebody else. But this guy ran on, jumped off a bridge, and died, running from the cops. And they were looking for him.
The great thing is that when
Just
these incidents
weird.
happen, there are now cameras everywhere. I'm scrolling the TikTok this morning because I'm friends with the Chinese, and it's like this guy sitting there egging his buddy on, saying, "I'll give you $250. Go jump on the field." It's a Florida Marlins game the night before, so it's him just talking to his buddy, and then he walks down, and then he jumps on the field, and he's running across. He goes out, slaps high five to the outfielder, runs across, gets chased by security, jumps back up into the grandstand, and it looks like he gets away. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. And then you see the next video, and it's some random fan watching. It's like some dude just streaked. He called it a streaker. The guy didn't take his clothes off, but he called him a streaker. And now you've got this from like 3 or 4 different angles, all sticking it on social media, and it ends with him in cuffs. He got cuffed.
I was gonna say he will be found.
He looked like he got away. Like he was in the concourse. He outran security, got into the concourse, and it looked like he got away. But he didn't leave the stadium. He was in
there's
cuffs
no
when he
way
left.
got away, yeah.
The question is, the friend was paying him $250.
Is that going to cover?
Is that enough to cover the the incident?
I bet you, and he's probably banned for life.
Probably can't come back to a Marlins game.
And used to be, you'd hear that and you think, yeah, what are they going to do? Now they'll find you because they probably have facial recognition cameras.
Well, and
he might get
his
in the
buddy
gate,
posted the damn video on the internet
Yeah.
the next day.
Yeah.
He's
like
got a-
it's good luck hiding. Thanks, Greg.
That's a real good friend.
Hey, he's like, hey, look, I'm gonna make my $250 back on clicks today.
Yeah, but if Greg shot a video, nobody would be able to recognize anything through the lens.
no, no, it's
Be
always
grease
fogged up.
covered.
Grease, fog, cracks.
He dropped it twice since he got here.
Well, yes, and I had it in a case for a very long time, and I ran it over with the mower on Saturday. I'm just shocked it still works.
It's still barely alive.
The screen's not cracked.
You are the guy. You should be an OtterBox ambassador, not the guy with a naked phone.
Yeah.
It's because I chopped my OtterBox up in the mower when I ran it over on Saturday.
The good folks at Amazon will get you a new case within hours. Within hours, you can have a new one. All right, one more thing that I wanted to mention. I had made a big prediction in the IndyCar world. Nashville is going to be. It's kind of been a rumor for a little while. The Nashville IndyCar race is going to be the season finale next year, but the Tennessee Titans are getting a new football stadium. So I want to brag on myself, and I just showed Greg. They leaked out the new track configuration, and I sat there on Google Maps last week, and I'm like, I think this is what it'll be, because they want to do Broadway. And I had it within a block, Greg.
Within one block.
Within one block of what they're actually going to do. So the new configuration next year is going to be over and back on the bridge that they've still used, because they're going to include it, and it's going to hang a right immediately, go up Broadway, I think to 4th Street or whatever. So right as the bar row ends, and then kind of work their way back by the hotels and back across the bridge. Should be just under 2.5 miles. It looks like a guitar or a crack pipe, depending upon how you want to, what you want to look at. Road America looks like pants, and it could be a pipe or it could be a guitar.
Probably if you're from Tennessee or local, it looks like a guitar, and if you're coming down from Indiana,
If it was Anderson, it looks like a meth pipe. I don't know.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be good for at least for the weather, because it's always 94 degrees down there.
Mason Rottinghouse, Sarah, and myself attended the first one. It was the first weekend in August, standing in the Titans parking lot, and it was the hottest event I'd ever been to in my life. This will be in September now, so I guess maybe even hotter. I don't know. It's still the South. It's just a swamp down there, but it should be fun. But I wanted to take credit, because I'm usually not right about anything. But I got this right, and I showed the proof to Greg. So I wanted it read into the record tonight. Francis, I know you don't give a damn, but I wanted everybody else to know. Zach, we're into final thoughts. You got anything for me?
Not too much. Broad Street Cruise this weekend. If you're in Newcastle and you're listening before Saturday, I think it's kids' night, so I think there might be a raffle and some stuff off. I know Pointer Brothers are involved, and they had a big truck full of bikes get delivered. So other than that, not much, because I discussed most of my weekend stuff on Patreon, so go join if you want to go hear about jet car shenanigans. Other than that, just everybody enjoy the weather. Back to school. My kids went back today.
Did you take any pictures?
My wife did.
I haven't seen the Burcham family photos. Was there a chalkboard involved?
No, we did not do that. We don't do the chalkboard. It's enough to get my kids to stand still, look at a camera, and not be beating on each other to get a picture and to get the one into school, because my oldest has been counting down the days. He was super excited. He's ran around during back to school night just socializing and having a good time. He already knows his teacher, because she was working with him kind of in the summer, because they do like little pop-up STEM events like around where they're science technology stuff, and she was doing some of those, and so she would work with them there just because they were doing them at the Y, and she also had him for robotics club last year. So he was super excited. The other one's like, oh, I don't want to go. So he slept through back to school night, and I had to go put his stuff away. And then he was nervous today, but he did okay. So, yeah, a lot of back to school pictures today. At least in Newcastle, we waited until August, because some of the Indianapolis schools are already back. I think some of the county schools don't go back for like another week.
We didn't have a complete town panic like we did for the first day of school last year. So gold star to everybody on the team.
Yeah, that was my son's school last year, that somebody accidentally hit the panic button on an app and called in basically a live shooter alarm kind of thing. So, and for all the other local people, Moreland Free Fair kicks off on Monday. It's the Moreland State Fair. Just skip the State Fair. Go right to Moreland.
No admission. It's free.
It's free.
I genuinely thought it was called the Moreland State Fair until I was like 17 years old.
When I met you, I was still calling it the Moreland State Fair.
Go get some elephant ear bites from the Blue River Band. Go get some footlong hot dogs from the volunteer fire department.
Watch the tractor pull.
Yeah, get some. And go to the FFA. Get a lemon shake up. You got to hit all those, and then there's the ham and bean tent, which isn't much my jam, but. Usually, Thursday?
You can watch the cord-fed clompers, too. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Usually got the big parade.
Cord-field cloggers, I'm sorry.
No 5K this year. A little bummed about the no 5K, but they're trying to find somebody else to run it.
Could have been you.
Not going to be me.
You've got the experience.
Don't live in Moreland. They've got their own people that can do that. yeah, I think what is it? Thursday night street trucks for the truck pulls, and then Friday night, Saturday nights like the pro trucks. And man, Thursday night, go watch somebody break their stuff because somebody's going to drive in, and then they're going to be looking for somebody to tow them home.
Well, they break their dad's stuff, not their own stuff.
I've seen dealers bring trucks.
Yeah.
Toyota
they will bring a brand new Tundra with the window sticker still in it, and I'm just waiting for a drive shaft to just blow apart. I was like, I want to go back the next day with a video and be like, so how much off for this truck? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, look, you took it to a truck pull and you hooked like 20,000 pounds to the back of it. I don't think it's good for that. But yeah, Toyota used to do that a lot. So,
hey man, Toyota truck could pull the space shuttle. Saw it on TV. Francis, do you have any final thoughts for us? Anything else to promote? You got a podcast. You need to tell us about that, if nothing else.
Yeah, so we've got a podcast. It's called the CoalCast. It's a little bit of going into the history of coal, where we're at, what we're doing currently. We interview a lot of great makers. We interview everybody on staff. And once again, it's just us trying to get people to be excited about what we're doing and get them involved, make them feel like they're already there. And I guess that kind of is my final thought is hopefully something that Greg or I said in the course of this gets you excited to try something, get outside of your comfort zone, go outside in a shop when it's already 95 degrees out and light a forge to 2,500 degrees and get even hotter. Let us know. You can email me directly at info@coaliron.com. If you want to get involved with anything that we're doing, if you just want to talk about blacksmithing, if you want to talk about knife making, we love being a part of this grander community of metalwork, but obviously it has to start at home, and we have to support the people that are around us. So just get involved, let us know what you need, and let us support you.
Fantastic. Greg, if they want to buy a knife or get some work done on their car, how do they find you and support you?
Monday through Friday, I'm at Jeff's Alignment just down Ray Street here. And then my blacksmithing stuff can be found at GCounts Metalworks on Instagram.
Very good. Greg single-handedly solved my air conditioning problems in the Tahoe. He's the he is the whisperer, the GM the 08 GM whisperer is Greg.
He's got a project car sitting in my garage that I just refuse to get rid of. That he's about to have to whisper to.
Zach has a Dakota. I've been friends with Zach for 5, 6, 7 years now. He has a Dakota that I've never seen out in the daylight.
It has been out in that time frame.
I've never seen it.
First of all, mine isn't a project vehicle. I mean, it's a project. I didn't buy it as such.
It's your first car.
It's my first car. So I've owned it since 99. So I've had it for 24 years. Last I knew, it still ran. But it sits in the garage on a tender. I need to get out, but it's like one of those things where my garage looks like a meth lab. There's stuff crammed in it. There's stuff in the bed. I don't pile stuff on the truck itself, but and there's like camper half in the driveway, so I have to move stuff around to get it out. And if anybody's driven an old vehicle before, it's a 92. If it's been sitting for a while, which has been sitting for a while, it starts up like a big block, like it's loping and stuff, and that's just because the PCM's just trying to adjust to like
it's trying to figure out what the current year is.
Yeah, it's trying to figure out. It's like, oh, where's Herbert Walker Bush, and so
Y2K.
And so it's like actually a bit of a handful to get.
Where's my leaded fuel
to get in and out of the garage? No, it runs on unleaded. But
it only knows how to drive to Blockbuster.
And it's. I mean, it might now be the lowest mileage vehicle I own.
Your truck voted for Perot. All right.
Been a while.
Thank you guys for being a part of the show tonight. Zach will let us know next week how many miles are on his trucks. We'll get an odometer clock from him.
No, that truck broke an odometer. It broke an odometer. It's on. I had to swap an odometer, but I think it's got like 225 on it, and that. It's getting close to getting past.
All your vehicles together, you get 1 million miles?
I go over 1 million miles on all my vehicles together. One of them's a cheater.
Me as well.
One of them's a cheater. I've got two something on that one, 240 on a Tahoe, 210 on a Mazda, and I have 370 on an Excursion. All right. I bought it with 364.
I've got 2 cars with combined less mileage than the Excursion.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cheater when I bought it with 364 on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up so we can watch Paul Tracy. We're on the SRX series tonight.
No Paul Tracy.
He's suspended for life.
Don't
All
take
right.
off Kenny Schrader, guys.
Yeah. Ken wins. I had so much fun watching Ken Schrader say, I'm never racing with this guy again, and he ended his career. It's spectacular. Ken has 9 fingers and a really bad attitude. All right, we'll see you guys, and races at Anderson Speedway. We'll see you guys next week.